Today I want to take some time to talk about 3 of the main characters I've been using for the launch of Genshin Impact. I've managed to summon Qiqi, a 5-star Cryo Sword user, Chongyun, a 4-star Cryo Claymore user, and then everyone's favorite 4-star Electro Archer, Fischl. I've managed to make it to adventure rank 30 and I got all these guys early on, so I've been using them in my main party about 90% of the time. I wanted to briefly give my thoughts on each of them, plus share how I've been building and using them so far. This is not a guide, but I will talk about each of their kits. Feel free to share your own thoughts if you have any of these units. So first up is Chongyun, who I've heard good things about from the betas, but boy did he surpass my expectations. When I got to play the beta, I didn't get access to the gacha, so I had no Claymore user, and getting to try D-Look out from his character quest, I was hungry for more big sword swinging action. Chongyun 100% satisfies that need, and he is by far my favorite character at the moment. I use him as my main DPS because I just enjoy his basic attack chain, and it works wonders with his main elemental skill, Chonghua's Layered Frost, which drops a circular frost field with some damage. I think the main reason people rated Chongyun pretty high is because all basic attacks or charge attacks with swords, claymores, and polearms used within that field gets turned into cryo damage, which means he can continuously proc cryo for 10 seconds, and the skill is only on a 15-second cooldown once used. This makes Chongyun a great setup for other elemental reactions, whereas someone like Kaya has to keep using his skill to apply cryo. While I use Chongyun to apply cryo through his basic attacks or the occasional spin to win move, you can very much use this skill, then switch to another character of a different element, and then they can use their own elemental skills while still applying cryo with their basic attacks. Anytime I get a chance to DPS a boss or just whack a big group of enemies, this skill is just so great at setting up elemental reactions. I personally think it's a really strong skill for general gameplay and even boss killing, and it can be weaved anytime after Chongyun's basic attacks. Speaking of which, I have to say that Chongyun's basic attack animations are very satisfying. While I do really like D-Luke, I feel like something is kinda off with his last basic attack that I can't explain. Like, it's not satisfying when it lands or just looks weird. I can get past that though because D-Luke's 3-hit elemental skill is immensely satisfying, and good lord does that flip feel really powerful. For Chongyun, his basic attack chain is much more fluid than D-Luke, at least to me. He does 2 wide slashes, then a quick spin, and finally a full turnaround that feels like he's putting all his weight into it. It all feels very smooth and visually appealing. Now, I do have one consolation for Chongyun, which is why he sends out a 3-pronged shockwave on his last attack. This adds some crowd damage at the end, similar to the main character sending out an animal shockwave on his last basic attack. While not pivotal since the frost field lasts for so long, I do admit it's a nice bonus and it looks cool. As for Chongyun's elemental burst, Cloud Parting Star, this is a very simple one and done blast of cryo damage. It looks cool with the 3 big ice blades, and it's a fast source of damage that you can use anytime really. It only costs 40 energy, which is pretty low compared to someone like Zhongling's 80 energy burst, but I do feel like it's not as impactful, which I guess is to be intended. I pretty much use it when I don't have the frost field up, and it comes back very quickly, so it's just another tool for my elemental reaction combos. For Chongyun's other talents, his first passive is a basic 8% attack speed boost when attacking inside the frost field. This applies to all sword, claymore, and polearm users and just helps you apply crowd damage a little bit faster. Now I'm still working on getting to his second passive, but it does sound really good. After the frost field disappears, it summons another spirit blade that does 100% of the damage of the frost field to nearby enemies. It then reduces their crowd res by 10%. I mean, this just sounds like free extra damage, and the cooldown on this skill is not that high at 15 seconds, considering it'll last for 10 seconds on the field. As you can tell, a lot of Chongyun's power comes from his main elemental skill rather than waiting for a big power spike with his elemental burst. Now, for my current build, I'm using the prototype Animus Claymore. You can forge this one from the blacksmith, but I got this one specifically from the pre-launch event, so I had a great early game already. There isn't much reason I have stuck with this Claymore versus the other ones besides I didn't get a gacha only Claymore, and its passive skill is extra % attack. Its effect is okay, but I do like its simplicity. For every 15 seconds, there's a 50% chance for a normal or charge attack to deal 240% attack damage in a small AoE. I believe the other 4-star forgeable Claymore adds attack and defense stacks, which is okay, but since we are swapping characters a lot in Genshin Impact, I just like not having to worry about maintaining these stacks. For artifacts, I decided to use the Martial Artist 4-piece set. The 2-piece set increases normal basic attacks and charge attack damage by 15%. The 4-piece bonus increases normal and charge attack damage by 25% for 8 seconds after using elemental skill. This is a pretty basic setup. I am using Chongyun as my main damage dealer when I'm not chaining elemental reactions, so the bonus damage on normal attacks seems to work nicely. I've been looking for a 5-star artifact set to use eventually, but I haven't found any that I think would work really well besides the Gladiator's Finale set, but that one doesn't come from a set artifact dungeon. It gives plus 18% attack and increases normal / charge attack damage by 35%, so I feel like that's just an upgrade. The wikis out there state that there is a cryo-based artifact set, but I have no idea how to get it currently. currently. For the moment, I'm pretty satisfied with my current build, although now that I can start getting more 4-star artifacts, there are for sure more things I want to test out. Overall, Chongyun has been an amazing unit to use. I am honestly thinking of trying to purposely fish for more duplicates later on, and until I get D-Luke, he's for sure my new favorite Claymore user. I'm hoping that I can get the other 4-star Claymore characters in the future. Next, let's talk about Fischl. She is another character that I heard good things about from the beta, and she's a fun personality because, well, she's definitely a chuny. Now, I wasn't that excited for archers because when I used Amber, I just didn't care too much for the charge shot windup or the basic attacks that could miss the smaller enemies you run into. The charge shot for bows certainly seems more for utility purposes, like hitting the ruined golems in their big crit spots to disable them. While they can apply elemental damage without using a skill, I think they take a little too long for chaining combos, or rather it just feels a bit awkward to me personally. Now, Fischl actually solves some of those issues, and her kit just felt way more useful once I understood it compared to, say, Amber's bomb and arrow shower burst. So first off, Fischl is mostly referred to as a support DPS character, which is to say she supports the main DPS unit. This is because of her main skill, Knight Rider, which summons her bird Oz. Oz deals some damage when he's summoned, but he also shoots little electro attacks at enemies. He lasts for 10 seconds, and because he keeps attacking, he keeps applying electro damage, which allows the main DPS unit to combo off of with elemental reactions. Now, for Fischl's burst, Midnight Phantasmagoria, she takes on the form of Oz and flies around while shocking enemies. This skill looks cool, but doesn't really feel crazy since it only hits enemies one time. It can let you reposition, and you can avoid damage when in this form, so it's a nice bonus. But the main perk of this burst is that when it ends, it summons Oz onto the field again. If Oz was already on the field, it resets his duration. Now, this is really good because Knight Rider is a 25-second cooldown, which is pretty long. However, Fischl can have incredible uptime on applying electro damage because she can first summon Oz with Knight Rider, and once he goes away, you pop the burst, which does some damage, but more importantly, it summons Oz again. This is separate from the Knight Rider cooldown, so after Oz disappears for the second time, you should almost be able to summon him a third time after that. Once I figured this out, it immediately clicked as to why people valued Fischl so much. I use Fischl in combination with Chongyun, and their two main skills overlap cryo and electro damage for so much time. I can just keep proccing Superconduct over and over, and I can throw in a third element as well. She's a really strong electro unit. So for Fischl's passive talents, I'm not really sure on how to use her first one effectively. Stellar Predator says hitting Oz with a charged shot will bring down Thunder and Retribution on an enemy for extra electro damage. The AoE isn't very big, and Oz is already applying electro damage himself, so since I'm using Fischl mainly for Oz's attacks, this passive isn't that useful to me. Since the damage goes off the arrow, I think this is more useful talent if you're using Fischl as your main DPS unit. I think there are bows that increase the charge shot damage, so I can imagine if you stack enough attack, then this is a solid passive. What interests me more is her second passive talent, which states, if a character triggers an electro reaction while Oz is on the field, then you deal electro damage equal to 80% of Fischl's attack stat. Oh boy, so this sounds so good considering Oz just keeps applying electro damage, and you don't need to be playing as Fischl for this talent to activate. This further exemplifies Fischl's support capabilities, and I'm looking forward to unlocking this ability. Since she is a 4-star, hopefully I can get more duplicates for the constellation. Some of those effects sound really good, including the last one, which extends Oz's summoning time by 2 seconds. For my current build, I'm using the Favonius War Bow, which you get for being the last boss in the prologue. It states crits have a 60% chance to generate 6 energy, and from playing with this weapon for a long time, it does seem like charge shots on enemies' heads do count as crits, since this ability procs very often. I usually open up with a charge shot with Fischl anyway, so this is a perfectly fine weapon at the moment. For my artifact set, I went with the Instructor 4-piece. The 2-piece grants 80 elemental mastery, and the 4-piece increases my party's elemental mastery by 120 after using my main skill. So basically, elemental mastery increases the percentage of damage done when you proc elemental reactions, and you can check specifically how much if you hit the details tab on the artifact or attribute page. I thought this was a great ability since I'm mainly using Fischl to summon Oz, then switch to my other party members to combo with his electro attacks. Now for the future, I'm looking to grab the Thundering Fury artifact set, which increases electro damage by 15% and increases damage by electro based reactions by 40%. Also, when you trigger those reactions, you reduce skill cooldown by 1 second. I'm not sure how many sources of cooldown reduction exist in this game, but this looks really good for Fischl considering I can proc electro reactions very often with Oz and someone like Chongyun. Very much looking forward to trying out this set and unlocking Fischl's last passive talent. So far, I can definitely understand why many people rate her so highly, and I'll definitely be using her a lot more moving forward. Last we have my first 5-star character, the adorable zombie girl Qiqi. So first off, they did a great job with her animations because they are very cute. Her running animation has her sprinting with her arms out like an airplane, and instead of diving headfirst into water like other characters, Qiqi will do a cannonball. In terms of theme, I thought they did a fantastic job with Qiqi because her kit really does exemplify the undying zombie idea. If you didn't know, Qiqi is most definitely a healer. Her main elemental skill, Herald of Frost, is quite similar to Barba's skill. Qiqi summons a little orb around her that deals crowd damage periodically, and every time Qiqi does a normal or charge attack, she heals all her allies. This skill will persist when switching to other characters, and it does heal the current character over time as well. It lasts for 15 seconds with a 30-second cooldown, and Qiqi is a great addition to any of my parties since I can just swap to her whenever I need some on-the-fly healing. In the beta, I never had a healer, so I was sucking down chicken platters and any other food types to stay healthy. This go around with Qiqi on my team, it's just insane how little I had to use food items. Unfortunately, I kinda did not try out Barba much because I feel like Qiqi pretty much does the same job as her. Healers are very good for the Spyro Abyss as well, so I'm sure I'm gonna continue using Qiqi for a long time. Now for her burst skill, Preserver of Fortune, this sends out a blast that marks enemies with a fortune preserving talisman. It does okay crowd damage, but any character that hits a marked enemy will regenerate HP. So you can see that Qiqi has a lot of healing on hand while still having ways to apply crowd damage. I only really use the burst if my character is on really low HP, but it heals for a lot and it basically is a full restore as long as I don't get comboed to death. For Qiqi's first talent, any character with a main skill on them that triggers an elemental reaction will increase the amount of healing they receive by 20% for 8 seconds. Pretty solid passive, we get even more healing. Now her second passive, A Glimpse into Arcanum, sounds really good too. Every 30 seconds, Qiqi has a 50% chance to apply one of her elemental burst talismans to an enemy. That just sounds amazing because the talismans heal for a lot and I don't really spam her burst much, so this is almost like getting a free elemental burst every 30 seconds. I already feel like Qiqi makes my experience much easier, so I can't imagine getting another free heal ability every so often. For builds, even though Qiqi is my only 5-star gacha unit, because her main job is to heal, I kinda just gave her whatever was left over. She currently has the prototype brand card, which grants stacks that increase attack and defense on normal or charge attacks. Qiqi's healing skills do scale off her attack stats, so I thought the extra attack could give me a bit more healing. In a similar mindset for artifacts, I've been using the Resolution of Sojourner set. It gives plus 18% attack and increases charge attack crit rate by 30%. So the second set bonus isn't really that amazing, but I tried it out because usually I run Qiqi and Chongyun at the same time. This triggers the Crow Elemental Resonance bonus, which increases crit rate against enemies frozen or affected by Crow by 15%. My thinking is that assuming these are additive, that gets Qiqi 45% crit on her charge attacks, or more like 50% crit since characters do have a natural 5% crit rate. With her main skill, the orb deals crowd damage, so I thought why not try for a little bit extra damage. Now for the future, I want to try and get the Maiden Beloved artifact set. This seems like the main healer artifact, and while I do think Qiqi heals for a good amount, I don't exactly use her for DPS at the moment, so I'm not sure what else to chase after. Also, enemies are starting to hit a lot harder, so we'll see just how strong Qiqi is at keeping the team alive. In terms of team comps, I do like using Qiqi with a Geo character. Having shields lets me just face tank enemy attacks, but that also lets Qiqi continuously heal my whole team. It's a similar idea to how Noelle functions, since you pop her shield and then she just goes ham to get some healing for the team. Overall, while Qiqi isn't my favorite character ever, because I would prefer someone a bit more flashy or damage oriented, I do think she is really strong. Being able to swap to her, pop her skill, get a few attacks off for healing, and then swapping back to whoever my other characters are is nice since the orb still heals the current unit on the field and it's applying crowd damage. She's definitely going to stay for harder difficulty content. That's all I got for this video. I just wanted to share my experience with these 3 characters, and I do enjoy using each of them a lot. Chongyun is definitely my new best friend because, let's be honest, I'm not getting Diluc anytime soon. Also, there are only 3 crowd characters in the game currently, and well, I got the other 2 besides Kaya, so unfortunately he's probably going to be on expedition duty for a long time. He was very serviceable when I played the beta, but I can't say he's better than Chongyun or even Qiqi in my opinion. Honestly, Qiqi's main skill kinda just feels like Kaya's burst skill. I definitely still have a lot to go before fully experiencing these characters' true potential, minus constellation levels of course. I'd love to know if you guys have any of these characters, and please share how you've been building them so far. I think Genshin Impact has a lot of potential for customization and playstyles, but it's gonna take some time while everyone starts to get to the mid to end game grind. Thanks for watching, have fun adventuring, and I'll see you guys next time.